Reddit users, what is the most fed up thing you've seen a friend do? Deliberately get knocked down by a car, in order to prove that when drunk, and we were very drunk, his bones were flexible. Fortunately, the car had been slowing to turn. There followed a couple of minutes trying to reassure the driver he was okay, whilst calling him an idiot. Meanwhile, he was laying flat on his back, maintaining he'd proved his point. My best friend was excited for me to meet his new GF. The whole evening he bragged about how she was still married and that he was going to be the reason she got divorced. Haven't spoken to him since. Did hear she broke up with him and sorted out the issues with her husband. Had a friend who had a 9mm handgun who liked to put a replica bullet into it and pretend he was going to shoot people at his house. He'd even go as far as squeezing the trigger to really scare the FCK out of people. One night he was drunk as hell and decided to pull this trick on a friend of his roommates who'd never been to the house before. Well, that night the idiot accidentally put a live round into the chamber and fired. The bullet missed this girl's head by f***ing inches. He begged us not to call the police. We called the police. He had me help model for one of his photo shoots that was set on top of a very tall building. When he asked me to move to the edge, he kept talking about how cool it would be to capture someone's death from a building in real time. At this point, I was getting somewhat nervous. Then he gave me a little shove. I backed away and then almost slipped. His response was, "See, that could have been so cool. You have mental health issues anyways, why don't you just do it and you'll be posthumously famous, which will give your life meaning." Now keep in mind, this is paraphrased since it's been a long time ago, but that was the gist of it, and I've never forgotten how it made me feel. After that, I started to gradually cut this person from my life out of fear that he would try to hurt me for the sake of his art. FCK that guy. Years ago I watched a friend sell some kid crushed up sleeping pills in place for cocaine. He had me drive into town to meet this kid and sell him the stuff. Needless to say, this kid's sister called screaming and crying. She was begging my friend to tell her what he gave her little brother. My friend laughed about it and was completely cold and showed zero empathy throughout the whole situation. Later found out the kid was perfectly fine. The sister was upset because he did a line in front of her and almost immediately passed out at the table. She said he was asleep for a good 12 hours after one line. That one line was probably equivalent to 3 to 4 sleeping pills straight to the head. My friend did this to buy heroin, which I had no idea he was doing. I lost a friend that night. I was better off for it with that and what I later learned about him. A friend of 15 years, let him stay with me for 6 weeks, after being kicked out, agreed to bring him on my lease since I live in a 2-bedroom alone. Asked him for rent, left to take my dog out to the park. Came back to an empty apartment and my number blocked. A friend of a friend, and this is the reason I stopped associating with both of them. The friend of my friend had just purchased new Egyptian cotton sheets, and his wife's cat had apparently got sick and threw up and shit on them. He grabbed the cat, slammed it into the wall, grabbed a lighter, and started to burn the cat's face off. It took me a little bit to process what the FCK was happening and to try and stop it, but the poor cat's had damage done. Lost an eye and whiskers on its left side. When I could get him to finally let go of the cat, I took it to the emergency vet. Told the vet the story of what happened. The cat was already on file for other incidents of injury, sadly, and they notified the wife. I don't really know what else came out of that as I left. I recommended she think about divorce and blocked both of them on all methods of communication. It sucked because the dude who burnt the cat was in a really good band that we would see live quite frequently, so that kind of stopped some of my social outings for a bit, but I wasn't willing to be around psychopaths like that. 1. They were arguing and he made fun of the friend for being an orphan. 2. Tried to stab the other friend cause his ex was crushing on him. We were working in an old lady's attic and he kicked the shit out of a pipe on purpose, then went and told her it needed to be replaced. I never worked with him again after that. If we're talking ex-friends, He beat his child for touching my guitar, the one I brought over specifically to show the boy and let him play with. He was 3. Throw McDonald's fries and burger as hard as he could at a homeless lady asking for food. I called him a piece of shit and never spoke to him again. A girl was falling down drunk, totally out of it, no drink spiked. She had been doing a crazy amount of shots without knowing they were double shots. This one friend of mine insisted on taking her home by himself. Me and 3 of other people in the group insisted more strongly to come along and help her home. The whole way back, he kept trying to assure us that he had things under control and didn't need our help, and it became clearer and clearer he was planning on raping her. We aggressively told him to knock it off, and got her home. First he tried to insist he should stay with her to make sure she's okay, which we vetoed. Then we caught him trying to get her keys out of her purse so he could come back inside. When that happened, we'd had enough and things got rough. We didn't beat him up, but we very forcefully got him out of her student residence building. She was in bad shape, so we found a friend of hers from down the hall who agreed to come over and look after her. We were worried she might throw up in her sleep or something. Later on that night he got caught pounding on her dorm room door by the same friend after he managed to sneak back into the building by following someone else when they came in. The whole friend group split up over staying friends with him, but FCK that guy. She was literally passed out on her feet and totally incoherent. I once saw an ex-friend of mine kick her boyfriend so hard in his ribs that afterward he peed blood. He was lying on his back at the time. His transgression? He asked her son not to eat all the chocolate pieces out of the communal trail mix they had. He has since dumped her. Now she's homeless, addicted to drugs, in and out of jail, and even her family won't have anything to do with her. Years ago had 2 best friends, B and R, let's say. Had been best friends with B for a good 7 or 8 years, but within the last few months B's cousin had gotten him to try drugs. B and I went over to R's house to work on cars and hang out. I had stepped into the house, from the garage, to use the bathroom. When I came back out, R pulled me aside and told me B had slipped a hit of LSD in your Pepsi can. Don't drink the rest. Adopt his wife's kid from her first marriage and then leave them. One of my classmates in high school slept with her tutor, and we later found out her mom also slept with him. She also became pregnant, got kicked out by her parents, and had to move in with her uncle and grandparents. I recently found out that she is a general surgeon now. She fucked up, but she turned her life around. Stabbed a rival in the neck with a rusty pair of scissors during a fight that broke out on the street in front of a house party. We no longer kicked it after that. Miraculously, the recipient of said stabbing was okay after numerous stitches and tetanus shots. I went on holiday for a week and asked my best friend to pop in and feed my cat. He lived a few doors away. When I got back, my cat was laying by the back door of my house. Went inside and his bowl was empty. I called him and asked when the last time he fed him. He said, "Oh yeah, I forgot." My cat had been outside for a week with no food or water. I haven't spoken to him in 12 years, cunt. 3 years ago, I made the decision to stop drinking. After about 11 months of sobriety, my best friend shows up at my door, several bottles of vodka with her. "I'm tired of you being sober, stop being a little bitch and get drunk with me today." After a moment of shock, I uttered, "No, that's not happening," and we're never speaking again. Door closes. She tried to reconnect several times, immediately following. "I'm sorry, I was only kidding and I'll kill myself if you really don't talk to me ever again." To which I replied, "I will not feel guilty for any choices you choose to make in your life." Stopped her manipulation pretty good. Eventually, a relative of hers calls me asking what happened, as the friend stated that I cut them out for no reason. As soon as I told the relative, "Well, I got sober and they didn't like that and wanted me to drink with them again," the relative interjected, "Say no more, I respect you for what you did." She really needs to get some help. Thanks for taking my call and explaining. In retrospect, I waited way too long to cut that friend out. Point his dad's handgun at me. We were 8, and I was staying over at his house. He kept laughing as I begged him to put it down. I called my mom and had her pick me up. Friends, thank you for watching. Please share your stories below in the comments and see you on the next videos. Have a good day.